Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Pike Homestead. So today I actually get to start building some fencing. So yeah, I'm ready to start building and closing up the chicken coop here, and yeah, getting a major milestone on the project done. So with that, I've taken some time here, and all that wood I was busy gathering. I've got all the lengths I need to build the fence in the back of the barn. And I've painted it all red just to give it some color, and it's ready to go. It just needs to be measured and cut to size and put up. So for my design here, I was going to set it up almost like you would if you're building a wall in your house, right? It's just I'm not going to have studs every foot or 16 inches. They're going to be every 4 feet because it's just holding chicken mesh. It's meant to be fencing that you can see through, so I don't need as many studs along the way, but it's going to have a top plate and a bottom plate, just to make it easier to connect the chicken mesh to it and have it work easily, and also put in for putting in and supporting the gates and everything like that. So that's kind of the plan that I'm gonna go with here for my design. And I'm using as much of the chicken mesh as I can that we already had. If you remember back at the lake house, we had our, when we first had our outdoor chicken coop, we bought, it was about 100 feet of 5-foot chicken mesh, just to try to keep them in one area, which it mostly worked, didn't for all of them. So I'm trying to use as much of that as possible. Now, we'd used a bunch when we'd put kind of the temporary coop in there last winter. So I'm preserving as much of that as I can. And then the other half of it, because I need somewhere, what I need, just over 50 feet. So between that bit that we were using and what I still have wrapped around that gate I'd made for that first chicken run, I should have enough of the 5-foot stuff. And then to make it up to the ceiling, I just bought another roll of 3-foot high stuff. So that's kind of where I'm going to have my dividing line on the fencing. Is I'll have some bars going across it about that height, about 5 feet, just so that I can staple the mesh top and bottom to cover up the floor to ceiling length. All right, so I'm going to get. Well, first I got to get some measurements done, and then we'll start cutting and building. Okay, so I've spent some time and done all my measurements and laid the floor plates out and everything that I want to get all my measurements to get the length that I need for the struts, the studs, if you will, of this fence we're building. So I know what that is. And now I'm going to go through how to cut them fairly quickly with only having to measure once. So part of the problem we're having today is, I've painted all the wood just to get it done, so I don't have to paint it after it's all up and do all the cleanup with that. So I'm just painting all the wood before I do it, but the temperature has dropped in the last couple of days, and the paint needs 15 degrees to be able to dry, 15 degrees Celsius to dry. And we've been floating at that or under. I mean, this morning it was 3 degrees Celsius when we got up. And yeah, we're going to be hitting our freeze date, our first frost any time now. So that's making it a little difficult. I still got a bunch of struts out there still with wet paint on them. And that's with the furnace going and a fan blowing on them, and they're still not entirely dry. But I've got this here and ready, and I can get started with it, so that's what I'm going to do. So I've got all these laid out. They're all slightly different lengths on this end, but they're all lined up at the far end. So the base end is flush. So I've got my measurement marked out here. I am ready to cut. All right, it's measured to what I need to get from the bottom strut to the top strut and get it up to the ceiling. So what I'm going to do here is just hold it all steady, line everything up. First cut is done, but what that does is it also marks out my next cut. So I don't have to measure again. I know that it's the right size, they're all lined up down there. I measured the first one, it's cut to size, and the saw makes the mark for the next one. So this is a brilliant way just to quickly get stuff cut without wasting all your time measuring. So anyway, I'm going to just trim up these ones, see if there's any more that are dry enough for me to bring out and cut, and I'll go through them, and then we can start building. All right, so we're a day later here. I've got everything cut. So I hope that was a good kind of trick with just piling up your wood. As long as they're straight on one end, it doesn't matter how long they are, as long as they're long enough for that cut. You just go through, measure once, cut through, and your saw will make your next mark, so you can keep just going through real quick without having to measure every single piece you're doing. So for something like this, where I'm going to have a long fence, you have your lowest measurement, because the ceiling is not perfectly straight, right? So you take your lowest measurement, and that's what you do, so that when you put them all together and you swing it up, they all fit. Now it's going to be a different challenge for the partition going from here back to the back wall, because the floor is cantilevered for drainage. Originally this barn was for pigs, way back. So it's got a lot of drainage on the edges. That's why we've got those, those gaps at the end that are covered with wood. If you've seen when I've been cleaning it up and everything. I'm gonna have to do something more about that in the future, but for now, it goes back and then it definitely canters down. So we're looking at the point where it's, several inches difference that, with the floor band is gonna be, kind of bending down. So I'm probably gonna take that, I know what my shortest, what it is up top, and what my longest needs to be, and I will I'll kind of do that, and then I'll do the short and the long, and then kind of just make it up as I go so that we can swing it up and have it be relatively level at the ceiling. But that's what I'll be doing later. Today my main goal is to get this first one made and up and start getting the fence put onto it. So I'm going to start doing that now. So I've got, kind of rough measurements taken. So I just wanted to get my final measurements. I'm not worried about it, getting to the wall or the walls being plumb, because they're really not going to be pressing right up against the walls anyway. So I'm probably going to take a measurement and put a board where I'm putting in the fence here on this wall. Yeah, and just so that I can kind of flush it up so that it's nice and tight there and stable. And then the other side's going to be another trick altogether, because we've got the kind of box there where the chickens are that I'm going to have to put a lid on once we get them closed in. But as you can see right there, see the chicken right about there. That's a box, and I'm gonna have to put a cap on it. But I also have to kind of fence around it. So, the bottom plate is going to be shorter than the top plate that's going to go pretty much to the wall there. So anyway, I've got lots of higgledy-jiggly stuff that I'm going to have to put in once I get to it, but I'm going to start, this end by the door, and, there's the, if you can even see it here, there's those boards there that are going to make it, shorter at the top, or shorter at the bottom than at the top. So I'm just going to go flush to those, pretty much almost flush to those boards, and just put a board on top, just running up to the ceiling that I can connect the fence into. So, All right, I'm gonna get working on that. So I've got my first bit of framework put up, and I've got it tacked to the wall here, but how do you keep it from shifting? Well, I've got to attach it to the floor. And what tool do you use to do that? I mean, you can get some masonry bits and drill in, put some anchors in and drill into the concrete. Or, and this is a lot more fun for me, is you can get a powder actuated nailer. So basically what this is, it's a gun, almost. I mean, not really. But it uses just a small 22 charge. So it's just basically a bullet without the bullet in it. It's the shell and the charge, which you put right in here. And you've got a nail that sits right here. And you close it up, click it in, it's ready to fire, and hit it with a hammer. And it drives that nail into the concrete, and it's a heck of a lot of fun to use. So I've had this for a few years. I've only used it a few times, but I'm gonna tack in a couple of nails in each bay just to hold it where I want it to be, and then it's real easy just to make sure everything's level by shifting it up and drilling into the ceiling. So anyway, I'm gonna get this going. So yes, this is a one that's you need to be very careful with because you can really hurt yourself with it. It's got, again, like I said, the safety feature. So once you put your charge in and your nail, it's not going to shoot like this. You have to press it in, and then you can hit it. So you've got to have it pressed in before it will make contact and ignite the charge. So anyway, I'm going to get going with that and have some fun. So with this, you need to get the right type of nails. And they have this rubber bit on the end that hold them centered like that. And then they also sell the shells. So basically what you've got here, again, it's a 22 caliber round. But, as you can see, there's no bullet in there. It's just crimped shut. And then the color denotes the strength of the charge. So you want to have yellow if you're going into concrete. So this bad boy is ready to shoot. So I'm just going to start at this end here. And yeah, just so it's all anchored on both ends. So close enough. And that's all it is. So it is fairly loud, so you definitely want to make sure you got something to hold it to cover your ears. And I'm just going to go through and get 2 in each bay here, and that should hold it nice and tight. So the basic framework is up and in place for the front wall of the fence here. I'll be throwing in, the partition for the inside after. I just want to get this front part done and get everything put in. So I've marked up where I need to put my cross braces for the to attach the mesh to for top and bottom and join it up. So that's all set and ready to go. But yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. I'm happy with how it's going. It's gone pretty smooth so far today. We got a lot of work done, even with the criminals. Some of the 2x4s I had here had a bit of a live edge on them. And even though it's painted, some goats have decided that they wanted to try to eat the bark. Anyway, so I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to get my cross braces and start tacking them up and getting them cut to size. And yeah, so we'll just keep going with that.